Everyone's always asking for transparency on the bourbon labels. Well, we found a bottle with the most transparency we've ever seen. Is it a gimmick or is it good whiskey?
We'll find out.
Hi friends, I'm Laura, this is Troy, we're Baker Drinks, and today we have a review of High and Wicked The Jury. This is a cask strength 15-year-old whiskey, and it has the most transparency out of any bottle I've ever seen. So I'm gonna go through that. It might take a little bit because there's so many words on the front of this label. So this is called The Jury. It's cask strength at 52% alcohol or 104 proof. Straight bourbon whiskey finished in ex-Madeira casks. So where do I even start here? It was aged for 15 years in new white oak with a number 4 char, and then it was finished for another year in ex-Madeira casks, bottled cask strength. They used a column still. Barrel entry proof was 115, barrel exit proof was 104. It came from Tennessee. It's non-chill filtered. Some cloudiness may occur. The mash bill, 84% corn, 8% rye, 8% malt. Release date, April of 2023. So there we go. We've got all this information on the front of this label, so you can't complain about not having transparency. You've got it on this bottle.
I mean, with all of that information, I think every bourbon geek out there would be happy with what they're putting out there.
Yeah, I mean, people are always saying, I want more transparency, I want more transparency. Well, you got it here. So
I don't think you can get any more. Maybe like the name of the person who barreled and bottled it and dumped it, I don't know.
I mean, you could probably find that out, but it's just not on the bottle. Yeah. Singular limited releases. So, oh man, that was a tight cork there. Is that not enough?
That's plenty.
You were looking at me like that's all you're pouring.
No, I'm looking at how dark it is actually. All right, so shall we get into the nose on this?
Sure. I mean, you're right. There's a lot of color to that.
Yeah, like right off the bat. I don't know if you guys can see that with our dark background.
Well, and without a very big amount in the glass,
but
that's also hard.
That 15 years is showing up in the color. It's got a little bit of a red tint to it. I'm assuming from the Madeira cask.
That would be my guess too, because I definitely get a lot of red, a lot of dark red.
It's very thick. It's like just forming a ring up here where I swirl it, and it's just now starting to work its way down the sides. I'm excited.
Let's go in for the nose.
All right.
I want to taste it.
I'm so excited to taste this. Cheers.
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 So the nose was pretty impressive. My first scent, it was like jammy, raspberry, fruity, jam type of thing. There's definitely a lot of sweet oak, and then I was getting like a creamy vanilla custard with it. It smelled amazing. I mean, I could leave my nose in there and keep sniffing as well because there wasn't a lot of burn to it. It was just like enjoyable, strong notes, but not a lot of burn. I gave it a 9 for aroma and a 9 on depth. I really liked it.
I said it was like an oaky raspberry jam. It's funny, we both got the raspberry note. It was just such an amazing nose. I could just sit here and sniff this glass all day. It is just so good. I also get a note of some pink bubble gum. It's a little bit dusty smelling to me, super complex and fruity. On the aroma, I gave it an 8.5, and on the depth, I gave it an 8.5. And honestly, I think I may have been punishing it a little just because I'm thinking, okay, 9+, that's like B-Tac and Pappy. And this was really good. This is by far the best nose that we've reviewed this year.
Yeah. So on the palate, I first got a lot of tingling from the oak spice. It wasn't like it was really proofy, but when something's very oaked, it gives a lot of peppery notes. So it took a little bit to adjust to it, even though it's only 104 proof. But then it was sweet, jammy, very dark flavors. This is not a bright, youthful drink. This is very dark flavor. It's full-bodied. I thought it had a good mouthfeel, but it was like a full mouthfeel, but it's not like a really oily one. And I'm guessing that's just the proof being 104. They have a different feel to them, I think. Like it filled my whole mouth, but it didn't like, it wasn't like drinking oil, I guess. I don't know. I'm wording it weird. Otherwise, I thought it was, I loved everything about it. There was just a hint of bitterness, like really nitpicking here at the end of the palate, but just like a hint. It just kind of took off the balance just a little bit with me, looking for something. So I gave it an 8 on flavor, an 8 on feel, an 8 on balance, and then a 9 on complexity because I thought there was a lot going on. But I probably would have given it a 9 on balance if it didn't have that just hint of bitterness.
The palate matched the nose. I got that oaky raspberry jam. The bubble gum didn't show up though. It was very spicy. Mid-palate and beyond, that spiciness is very predominant in a good way. You don't want like a super sweet whiskey without that spice to balance it out. Mm-hmm. And this did that very well. So coming out of Tennessee, I was kind of worried. I was looking for those Dickel vitamin notes, and I did not get any of that, and I was looking for it. This was a pleasure to drink, super complex. Flavor, I gave it a 9. The feel, I gave it an 8.5. It is viscous, as Laura said, and it is cask strength. All of the fatty acid esters are in there. There's no water added. What came out of the barrel is what we're tasting. And it's very good. It's viscous, but not like overly oily. It's very well balanced. I gave that an 8.5, and the complexity I gave an 8.5.
Yeah, so far it's doing pretty dang good. Maybe not a gimmick. So the finish, I thought it just continued with the flavors, and then it fades into sweet vanilla the longer it's finishing. It just kind of sticks around. It doesn't really go away. So scores, I gave a 9 and a 9.
It's a very good finish. I did find on the long finish, it's just very slightly drying. I can have a sip. It finishes for close to a minute, and then like right at that minute point, you're like, oh yeah, my mouth is a little dry. I could use another sip. And I don't know if whiskeys plan that out so you keep drinking them. Great plan on their part if that's what they're doing. But I think it's just that extra long time in the oak. It's spicy, it gets a little drying. And as far as the drying goes, this one's not bad. Like I said, a full minute into the finish is where that showed up. And so yeah, long, spicy finish. I gave the flavor an 8.5. I gave the length a 9.
And then so for overall, I have great things to say about this too. They've got all the transparency you'd want, and then good packaging, great flavor, and then it does come in at $120. So that's where it gets hurt a little bit in the scoring system. So I said it's expensive, but it's still less than the $10 per year that people say is acceptable. So I don't know. I gave it a 9 on impression and a 7 on value, just because it's better than they say is good, but I still think it's hard to swallow anything over $100 usually.
I've seen a lot of other talking heads out there in the whiskey world say that $100 to $150 bottle is dead. They just sit on the shelves, they don't move. And that may be the case with this one. They had a few of them at the store we bought this at, Total Wine in Bellevue, Washington. And it didn't look like anybody was looking at them. They weren't in the glass case. They were just on the shelf sitting there, side by side, the judge and the jury. And $120 is a big ask. But as Laura pointed out, it's less than $10 per year of age. There is a ton of transparency on this bottle. It is the full package. On the impression, again, I feel like I was punishing it a little because in my mind, a 9+ is like BTAC Pappy. So I gave it an 8.5. It probably deserves a 9. So, take that for what you will. This has everything going for it. On the value, I could have given it an 8 because it's less than that $10 per year of age, but it's in that price range that people they're hesitant to pull the trigger, that $100 to $150 range. $120 MSRP, we ended up paying out the door about $149 with the Washington Hell Tax. I'm not mad at this purchase. For us in our scoring system, in the 70s is a good bottle. So for value-wise, I gave it a 7. It's a good value. And we didn't mention it at the beginning of the video, but this was actually my birthday present from Laura.
Yeah.
So it was a special purchase. I got to pick that out and she paid for it. And I am so impressed with this bottle. The first time we tasted it, I was coming out of COVID and I was like, man, this is really good. Today, now that I'm fully got my palate and nose back, I'm like, holy cow, this is great.
Yeah, so my final score was an 85, which is by far the highest score I've given this year. And I stick by it. I think it's delicious.
Yeah, and my final score was an 84.5, but again, I feel like I was punishing it in a couple of those categories. It easily could have been 86, 87, but 84.5, a great bottle. Still the highest I've scored one this year.
So I don't think this bottle's for everyone, even though we like it a lot. 1, the price. 2, you gotta like oak on your whiskey. There's no denying that there is oak on this whiskey. So if you don't like that flavor profile, even the sweet, this is mostly sweet, but it does have like the spiciness on the tongue, but it's not a bitter oak. You have to like that flavor to enjoy this. The Madeira does not overpower it. So while there is Madeira giving that sweetness that you usually get from it, majority of the flavor is the age, I would say. I don't know if they have it in bars, so I can't even recommend trying it in a bar because I just don't think it's that big of a brand. But if you can find it, I would recommend trying it. So thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We'll be coming out with more reviews every Monday. Could be mainstream bottles, could be bottles you never heard of. We're just going to try to keep putting out reviews every Monday. So cheers, see you again soon.